Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Dave with Amari Productions and we are back for part 2 of talking about the different styles and approaches to wedding videography. If you missed last week's video, right here. Last week we talked about filming, how videographers can approach filming your day, and as promised, this week we are going to touch on the second half, which is editing. How are videographers putting together the actual story of your day? All right, let's dive in. So again, last week I meant for this all to be in one video, but then I saw that it was getting long-winded and we were only halfway through. So here we are in part 2 where we are going to talk about editing. And kind of like last week, I've got about 3 points to touch on. I'll kind of give you the range of what you can expect to see, and then I'll talk over how we approach it and why that I feel like that's the way, at least for us, to move forward. So whether you are an engaged couple planning your wedding or you are a aspiring filmmaker just looking to up your game, is this gonna be like my new phrase that I say in every video? I gotta figure out how to reword that. Basically what I'm trying to say is whether you are a planning couple or you're a filmmaker, stick around, there's stuff in here for everybody. Unlike last week, none of this will apply to photography. Last week, a lot of it could apply to photography because we're kind of side by side working throughout the day, and then a lot of our approach is the same and we're looking to capture the same stuff. Now that we're talking about editing your film, this is totally different than your photographer. So, sorry, not a lot there. Okay, the first and biggest piece of style and approach when it comes to editing is going to be the story. How are they structuring their story? What story are they telling with your day? And specifically what I'm thinking about here is wedding highlight films, that kind of 4 to 6, 5 to 7, 3 to 5 minute long video. On one end of the spectrum, you would have what you might call a documentarian that is editing your day wholly chronologically, maybe splicing in some moments from your vows during the ceremony highlights, some moments from your toasts during the toast highlights, or maybe all music. Or maybe they only give you like a longer video that has, you know, more of your ceremony in it, more of your toasts in it. On the other end of the spectrum, you have a videographer who's approaching it the exact opposite, where it's more of a montage of clips. It's more of a, this is not our style, so I had a hard time defining this, but I'll do my best. It's more of a mood board, you know, more of a, like a music video, an art film that's just kind of trying to give the overall feel and vibe of the day through a collection of clips. Sometimes those clips can be kind of sporadically placed or randomly placed. Sometimes there can be like an underlying reason, but generally there is not a lot of weight put on the actual order of events. But once again, I can tell I'm not doing a very good job at hiding how we do it because there are certain things that I just can't really speak to because it's not how we do it. So where do we land on this? What's my recommendation? I would say we're definitely not full documentarian. That would get very boring very quickly. But at the end of the day, like, there is a story here to tell. It is the story of your wedding day. It is the story of your love. And so I want to make sure that we're telling that story and that we're never getting so creative with our time shifting and our editing that it starts to feel more like a montage or a collage and less like an actual short film that's trying to tell your story. So for us, and my recommendation in general is to, if you are going to time shift, don't do it just to do it. Don't do it because it feels artsy or because you see other people do it. If you're going to time shift, which you absolutely should at certain points in the film, but when you are going to time shift, there should be a reason. There should be a reason in the story for that time shift. You should be trying to tell something about the story, some part of the story with that time shift. For example, you might be, you know, showing getting ready at the beginning of the day, and they're telling a story about the couple, and then they get to a part where they talk about how the couple met and were like fell in love at first sight, but you're still kind of in the chronology of the day. You're still at, like, they just finished getting ready, but they haven't actually walked down the aisle yet. So maybe you time shift and show some portrait shots. The music maybe picks up and hits the first chorus, and there's kind of a big, you know, dramatic musical phrase, and we just heard about how, like, and that's how I knew you guys were perfect for each other. So sure, you time shift up to the portraits and you show some couples portraits to really like land that point visually, and then when the chorus comes back down and the music comes back down, you coincide with that to shift back to where we left off in the day. Or another very common example is you'll have songs where they build, they get really big, and that's like perfect to build up to the ceremony, and then they drop out for kind of a pulled back bridge. between the second chorus and then the third chorus. And that's a perfect time to jump to first dance, or even maybe some couples portraits there as well, where things, in the first example, we were jumping to couples portraits because things like in the music, it really blew up and hit this dramatic point. In this example, we're gonna cut to couples portraits or first dance because the music's pulling back, so it's getting very intimate. So we can try to weave together the audio of our story from the vowels and the toasts to get to a point there where it makes sense to pull back and just sit with the couple for a moment and maybe bring in some audio that just really talks about the couple. And then when the music comes back up, we'll shift back to present time. We can also use black and white to help the viewer understand when we're shifting and when we're shifting back. For example, if maybe you are trying to have part of the officiant's message happen during the processional, both of those things are happening at the ceremony site. So you can have a hard time putting two and two together of where exactly we are. So maybe you black and white the officiant's message and then have in color the processional, so that if you were cutting back and forth visually at all, the viewer understands like, okay, we're still watching processional and then I'm hearing something from later that's gonna coincide with, you know, and the reason we're doing that is because when I've been doing this the whole time to show you guys like left to right, but I'm realizing, no, that's right, this is gonna be left to right for you. Okay, never mind. So the reason you might have the officiant speaking during processional, which is like right before he would actually speak, is maybe because he ends his thing on something something like a really good final note about the two of you that you want to hit right when you see each other. And so you need him to be speaking during processional so that hits right on to the end of that, hits right when you walk down the aisle. So there's little things like that. That's when I want to see time shifting. I don't want to see an entire film where it looks like I took all the clips and I shuffled them and then I just like threw them out on the board. Again, I don't edit in that style. No one in our office edits in that style. So I know I'm absolutely selling that style short, and I apologize. I just don't understand that style very well. I can't speak to it. So if anybody does edit in that style and wants to talk about it in the comments, or wants to hop on a video to talk about different approaches, 100% game. Because I love watching those videos. Like, don't get me wrong. I think those are really fun videos to watch. They're generally, we're gonna get into music here, but they're generally higher energy videos, and I'm genuinely amazed when I watch videos from studios of that style, because it's just, it just feels so artistic. Like it's just something I could never do that. So yeah, I'm amazed. I love them, but not our style. I can't speak a whole lot to it. Okay, and the second piece coinciding with the story, we've already touched on this a little bit, is music. How are studios using music in their films? Is it on one end of the spectrum? Is it like strictly a backing track? Like it's just there? Maybe it sets the mood, or it's like the genre of you guys, or just like a generic genre, and then the whole film is just laid over the top of it? Or is the music more present in the story? For example, for us, we will pick music that matches the genre, the vibe, the style of your guys' wedding. We've touched on that before in Nicole and Phil and Marquita and Henry's videos, kind of the spectrum of music. But yeah, for us, we will pick music that fits your guys' style and vibe. We don't have like a home style of music that like we would prefer to edit our films in. We're very much open and responsive to the vibe and the style and the energy level of your day. But then beyond that, once we've picked the actual music, music plays a critical role in our films. We want to find songs that have dynamics in them, that build up to certain climactic moments, whether that's a chorus, whatever it's gonna be for that type of song. We want to find songs that build up to climactic moments and then use the flow of that song as the template, as the outline for the flow of your day. So I touched on this a moment ago, but for example, you might have a song that starts small and then builds up, hits this climactic moment, and then drops down, and then another big climactic moment. That's a very common structure for a song. So easy. For us, we have all the getting ready, we have all this backstory about how you guys met, how we got here as the song's building, and then we have you walk down the aisle on that first big beat, and then your ceremony happens during this like high energy moment, your kiss, your recessional, music drops out for a minute, and that's when we show portraits and first dance and kind of whatever, like the last piece of your vows, or some really good like benediction, some really good charge of like, you guys are perfect for each other, we're so happy for you, we can't wait to see what happened, like where you guys go in the future, something like that. And then it blows back up again and we get into the reception. Or you might have a more traditional verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. That's like the most common like pop template. So if you have a song that has lyrics in it, that's usually how it'll go. You have a little intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, bridge, and then like chorus and maybe twice. And there's variations on that as well. So if you had a song like that, you might go getting ready on verse 1, or like establishing shots in the intro, getting ready on verse 1. First chorus is bridal party portraits, and then it comes down and you do the first look and ceremony details and processional. And then second chorus is you walking down the aisle, ceremony highlights, and then when it drops down, first kiss, portraits, first dance, kind of similar from there on out to the end, and then reception on when it blows up again. Anyways, all that to say, our films are 100% aligned with the flow of your music. For us, music is not a backing track. It is a score to your film. My background, my passion before filmmaking was writing music, specifically was writing music for full symphony for movies. I loved movie scores. I loved listening to them. I loved trying to write for them. My dream was to become the next Hans Zimmer, the next John Williams. Obviously, that didn't pan out. I got into film instead, and I'm very happy with it. But I took that background with me into filmmaking to make wedding films that really had deeper emotional impact than your average run-of-the-mill film. And that's the secret sauce. That is a big part of where it comes from. It's the candid moments and everything we talked about in last week's video, but then it's also finding music that fits you guys, and then creating a storyboard, a timeline that fits the flow of the music. Okay, and then the last point, kind of like last week, a smaller point, but definitely worth mentioning. This is pretty black and white, and it's totally preferential, is audio, is live audio, real-time audio from your day. Is a videographer using it? Is there highlight film? Is there shorter film all music? Is it all music with just vows? All music with some vows and some toasts? I shouldn't say all music at that point, it's not all music. Is it music mixed with vows and toasts? Or are they using a lot of ambient audio throughout the day? For example, like that's something that I would love to get more into ourselves, like mixing in more ambient audio from the day. It's just really hard. You know, it's really hard when for us at least, when the way we structure stories and all the talk I just gave you guys about music and wanting music to really score it, to then also mix in more ambient audio, because that just means even more part of the film where the music has to be turned down. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. How is your videographer using audio, if at all, through the day? And that is 100% personal preference. We have a lot of couples that you know, want as much live audio as we can get into their film. That's very common. But then at the same time, like, we do have a small but noticeable percentage of couples that when we ask them, do you have a preference between your vows, your toasts, like what do you want to get in there? We have couples that say like, oh, nothing, no, we just want music. Like, we wanted a full music video. But 100% personal preference on that. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. If you enjoyed this film, please hit that like button, click that subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you know that every time we post. My name is Dave with Amara Productions, and I'll see you next time.